Hi and welcome to Upvoted, a channel dedicated to Reddit's verbal diarrhea. Let's get started. What's the most refreshing act of I don't give an F that you've ever witnessed? This guy was on the commuter train when he got a call. There was a woman on the phone screaming at him. He just kept saying okay. Okay. Okay, for about 2 minutes. Then he says okay. We are done. Get your shit out of my house. We are done, and he hangs up. She probably wrecked his place on the way out, and I bet it was 100% worth it to be out of the relationship. If all you lose is your security deposit, then it's worth it. That is a very dangerous way to break up. Dude had astronaut level confidence. I was backing out of a parking spot in my old Civic and a guy was driving down the aisle real fast in an equally old car and we collided. We both hopped out and looked back and forth between our mild damage and each other. Then without saying a word we gave each other one of these, hopped back in our cars, and carried on our days. Feels good when you drive a beater and some car accidentally hits you, and you inspect the damage and let the person go like you just freed him from jail. One time, this lady cut me off in traffic and proceeded to sail into the back of a Land Cruiser ahead of us, and I just looked at her like, well, if you hadn't cut me off you'd have hit my O2, and I'd have let you go. Stupid Bill Mayo. I saw a hawk, Beauty Ajame senses, swoop down and try to catch a squirrel, Cirrus niger, once, but scurrying squirrel scrambled beneath his perching limb causing the hawk to miss. He then spun right back on top and never stopped eating his acorn. I like how you especially made sure that we all know exactly what type of animal you're talking about by including their genus/species. I'd say that's a refreshing act of actually giving an F. Also shows respect towards the mentioned animals. Thank you for that. A woman pissed herself in public and everyone was staring, so she did a little dance. Are you serious? This actually made me laugh. I like this woman. Not enough people understand there is no such thing as an awkward situation, only people who handle a situation awkwardly. Like the time I was stuck in traffic and a car full of cute girls caught me headbanging. I could have gotten all embarrassed and awkward about it, but you know what I did? I smiled, waved, and went right back to banging my head. They laughed, and some minor flirting was had while we waited for the cars to clear. Act boldly and with confidence and you'll never be embarrassed again. This is a woman who gets that. I was in a public park and some douchey piece of shit finishes his cigarette and drops it on the ground. An aging hippie picked up the cigarette butt, caught up to the douche, and said, "Excuse me, you dropped this." He didn't even say in a sarcastic way. If you weren't watching it, you would have thought he was handing the guy back his wallet. Douche had no idea how to handle it. He just took the cigarette from aging hippie and put it in the trash can where it and he belonged. It was fantastic. I saw someone do this too. My wife and I were hiking in Colorado and there were two groups slightly ahead of us, one of teenagers and one late 20s. One of the teenagers finished their can of Monster or whatever and dropped it into the bushes, and then one of the late 20-year-old people picked it up, walked up to the teenager group and said, "Hey, you dropped this," and handed it back to the kid. The kid took it without saying a word, just looked sheepish and embarrassed, which he should be. It was honestly one of the most subtle, cool, FU things I've ever seen. Reminds me of those videos where the motorbiker picks up trash thrown out by cars and throws it back in their windows. I had a buddy who worked as a bouncer at a strip club. They had an irate customer who they had thrown out who came back wielding a shovel. In the video he showed me, he very clearly politely asked, "Do you mind if I borrow this?" Then grabbed a chair and smashed it across the guy's head. Most polite beatdown ever. See what happens when you bring a shovel to a chair fight? That's one way to dig yourself out of a hole. A crowd of soccer fans passed by my apartment building as I was entering, and I saw a drunk dude pissing in a corner at the letterboxes. I was not amused and yanked the top of his jacket from behind, toppling him over on his back. He could not stop pissing and just finished his pee in a sad fountain, landing on top of his belly while calling me names and threatening me. It took like a good 13 seconds too, so he soaked himself to the extent that a puddle was forming from the pee that couldn't be absorbed by his shirt and pants. Then he just got up, started chanting for his club, and rejoined the crowd, completely ignoring me. I envy that man. That's hilarious. Chick at my old job got a new job. She spoke with management and everyone was aware. She left early and sent out an email saying I've enjoyed working with you all. Except for, and went down a list naming people. She just didn't give an F. My 5-year-old's teacher was harshly criticizing her artwork, so 5 calmly gathered up her supplies and threw it all in the trash. Sat back down and waited for the next lesson. What kind of effing monster tries to crush the creativity of a 5-year-old? I hope you took 5 for ice cream. She's got moxie. Judging by the username, I'd say she's homeschooled. Ha ha ha, that would be good. She has a nightmare of a teacher this year. Moxie is a good word for what she's got, thanks. In elementary school grade 6, this teacher would punish you when caught effing around by suddenly yelling your name followed by 3 pages. You had to write a 3-page summary of a story. One day my friend and I were goofing around when suddenly I hear my name shrieked followed by my friends and 3 pages. I shut up right away, but my friend said I don't care. The teacher said 6 pages then. My friend surprisingly shrugged saying, so what? We'd never seen anything like this before. Everyone was shocked. The teacher was turning purple by this point. Fine, 9 pages then. She snarled. My friend said something like he didn't care. The teacher went to 12. He simply refused to back down. Grade 6 kid vs adult teacher. They kept going up. I think the principal got involved eventually. It totally infuriated the adults that this kid refused to be subservient to them. In the end, he never did any of it. The next day he told the teacher his parents said he didn't have to do them. We never had to do 3 pages after that day, lol. We had a professor decide to retire very late in the semester. The department head filled in for him, and there was a scheduled test coming up that same week. He stepped in. He said, I'm about to review the material on the upcoming test. Take good notes and you will pass. A, B, D, A, D, B, A, C, B, B, true, false, true, true. Guy I worked with walked out. This was a software developer making in excess of $70,000 a year at a multi-billion-dollar company. He got a phone call that he got another job, stood up, walked into his boss's cube, gave her both middle fingers, and yelled F you. Tossed his badge on the floor and just walked away. Honestly, $70K a year isn't much for a developer. He probably got a huge raise from someone paying him what he's worth, and left in a blaze of glory. $70K was good money for when this happened. That's the dream right there. I was watching Star Trek Generations at the movies when it was first released. During the bit where Captain Kirk dies, a guy down the front was just constantly muttering to his girlfriend. Some other guy at the back got pissed and shouted at him to shut up. The guy at the front stood up and immediately ripped the loudest fart I've ever heard. It echoed throughout the place. There was a few seconds of stunned silence, and then the whole place just fell about laughing. Even the guy who shouted at him was laughing. Best experience I've ever had at the movies. Sheet your pants to establish dominance. In college physics, we had this professor that picked on a few students, including myself and this other fellow. We had an exam, which was at least 1/3 our grade if not more, and he took off significant points over stupid stuff. Like I was labeling a diagram, and my H4 hypotenuse was too close to the angle spot, and he took off 18 over 20 points, which sunk my test, even though my answer was right. During class the professor was going through the answers, where he made a stupid mistake like that. This fellow walked up, grabbed the chalk, and wrote a big F on the board. Walked out and gave him the middle finger. Great work. In my first few weeks at a big tech, which was the first real job I had in my current career after just coming out of grad school, we had weekly business reviews with the team. WBRs were always tense because everyone would have to bring numbers and expect to be challenged on them. One time it got particularly heated and a yelling match broke out between a team member in my department and the director. I myself was a little freaked out by it. My own manager just sat back in his chair with his arms crossed, silent. The director, his boss, turned to him and yelled, "Do you not have an opinion about this? Do you just not care about what's happening to this department?" He very calmly said, "I'm a veteran that ran PSYOPs in Iraq. I've been shot at, I've been in an APC that was flipped by an IED. This is just glorified mail order. No, I don't give an F about this. Work it out amongst yourselves." I took that as a lesson. I have since never raised my voice in a professional setting, and I don't let anything get to me. Client screaming at me on the phone. I'll calmly talk them off the ledge and fix the problem and forget about it immediately after. Because none of it truly matters as long as my mortgage is paid. Thank you for watching this video. If you would like to see more videos like this, please give us a like and subscribe, plus let us know about any I don't give an F stories that you have witnessed. And remember, you are an absolute legend.